Hi folks, welcome back to Behind the Curtain, the only show that looks completely different every time you tune in. My name is James Bernowski, and today marks a very special episode because we are talking about one of my favorite events of the entire year. I consider it a holiday in line with Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter. Folks, today we're talking about the Morristown Theater Guild's 10th annual 24-hour film contest. The basic gist of it is that participants will have 24 hours to write, shoot, direct, and edit their own short film. It can be, the plot can be anything you want. There are some guidelines with a theme, a shooting location, a prop, and a line of dialogue that all have to be included. But beyond that, you're really encouraged to stretch your creativity and really make it your own. Also, I'm pleased to announce that the 24-hour film contest is easier this year to access maybe than ever before. The process is entirely online. You can sign up right here at this link that you see on your screen right now. It'll take you through all the steps getting signed up. There is a $20, I believe, charge, which is waived for student filmmakers. So we do highly encourage our young people to join as well. Every single film, if you've been following the podcast at all, every film that I've shown of mine has been made in participation of the film contest. And it's always so amazing. It is such a good way to stretch your creativity, get into something new. If you're not sure about acting, directing, writing, any of those things, give it a try. I mean, there's really nothing you can lose. But for me, this is a sort of particular passion of mine. I can't stress enough how much I've enjoyed making these films every single year, and I've learned a lot. And so if I may, I would like to share some tips with you all. Now, the number one thing that everyone not really seems to ignore, but doesn't perhaps take into consideration as much as they should, lighting. You need to light your films or the whole thing is going to be a bust. Good lighting is as important, I would say more important than a good camera. I did not start out with a good camera. I have a very good camera now, but that was secondary because what I needed to do first was get that good lighting. And I'll tell you, with a good camera, with lousy lighting, it looks infinitely worse than a lousy camera with good lighting. Does that make sense? So I'd like to go ahead and show you some of the things I've collected over the years, some of the lighting implements that I've collected, and we'll go through them a little bit and talk about them. This right here, this is actually an Adams photography light bar. It's a vintage model, 80s, maybe early 90s, but this is nice. I got this on eBay with 4 flood bulbs for about 20 bucks. Now this, obviously this gives you 4 light bulbs in one package. There's a single button on the back. You press it once, you get the outer 2. Press it twice, you get the inner 2. You press it a third time, you get all 4. And you may have noticed that these lights are different colors. We'll talk about that a little bit. So these are what you would call cool white lights. They might be considered a little bit blue, a little bit more on the blue end of the spectrum, but these are generally what's called cool white. These run, I believe, at about 5,000 Kelvin. So that's what these are going to be listed as on any light bulbs that you buy. They're this color. That's the units that are used for the color temperature reading is Kelvin. These are 5,000 Kelvin. These are about 2,500 Kelvin. So the lower you get, the warmer the color of the lights. These are great for any time you need to simulate incandescent light. You can hook these up to a flicker switch. You can get some nice sort of ambient light, candle light, something like that. Whereas the blue white, the cool white, might be better for if you're trying to simulate daylight or something like that. But you can put them all together and you get what should be pretty close to a true white. These are absolutely fantastic. I love them so much. I bought 2 of them. They have a tripod mount on the bottom. I actually have one that has a second 3/8 screw on top if you want to attach another one on top of that. And on the top here, they actually have an exposure chart. And so this will teach you, this will show you based on how far the light source is from the subject, what you can set your camera's exposure to get a good reading on camera and not blow out your picture. So these are absolutely fantastic. I really can't say enough good things about them. They come in a nice steel case, which I don't have with me. But these have been an absolute lifesaver in many situations where I just needed some quick, fast lights. So these are great. If you're looking for something a little bit more portable, we do have these. These are just sort of some generico lights that you can get almost anywhere. I think I got these on Amazon. I got 2 of them for $30. So equipment has gotten a lot cheaper over the years, if you haven't noticed. These are nice. They're just LED panels, little LED lights, LED boxes, whatever. These take like 6 AA batteries. So they're quite intensive, which is why I always buy a pack of batteries before I go out on any shoot. Just got a nice little dial here on the side. You can, dial it in, decide what your brightness is going to be. These are good for tight spaces. I really like using these in cars. If I'm shooting inside a vehicle, I'll set one of these up and I'll have it pointing at the ceiling. And that'll be a little bit brighter, and it will also sort of help simulate the indoor light in the car or the dashboard light. These start out cool. These don't have multiple color temperatures on them, but they do have a little slot right there where you can slide in a filter. You can slide in gels or whatever you want. This one came with several diffusers. I colored one of them blue because I needed some quick moonlight. But yeah, I really like these little guys. Of course, they have your tripod mount on the bottom, 2 different sizes. And this one is the HD 160, but these are, like I said, they're generico, cheap Chinese lights. You can probably pick these on Temu, I would say probably like $5 a piece, honestly. So these are fantastic. Now we're going to talk about this absolutely ridiculous contraption. This is a light that I made. And what this is just an old monitor housing, computer monitor housing. I kept some of the diffusion filters from the LCD screen, knocked out all the guts and everything. And what I did was I got some daytime running lights for like a vehicle. These run off of 12 volts a piece, but you're going to need more than that to power them all up at once like this, obviously. And I got them alternating colors. I got cool white and warm white in here. I have 2 knobs, 2 dials on the back. Each knob controls a different set of LEDs. So the one on the left controls the blue, white, cool white, whatever. The one on the right controls the warm white. And so I've just got it connected to what used to be a laptop power adapter. This, I believe, is 18 volts. So it doesn't take a crazy amount of power for these things, but it does take considerably more than 12 volts if that's what you were hoping for. These are reasonably portable. They're a little bit bulky. I have, like everything else apparently, I have 2 of them. These fit snugly in the bottom of my bag, and I stack everything else on top of these. I have a little clip attached to the back for a tripod. You could attach a proper tripod mount if you wanted to, if you had the skills to do so, but for this sort of cheap plastic, I thought it better just to glue on a little curtain rod holder, clip, whatever, and I can mount it to the rod of my tripod. They're very versatile. You can set them up pretty much anywhere. If you wanted to, I have seen people, what they'll do is they'll do something like this, but they'll just attach the lights to like a strip of leather. And that way it can actually roll up and fit into a pack much more nicely. Well, frankly, I don't have the skill set to do that. So I put them in an old monitor housing, and I hooked a cord and ran it through some switches, and there you go. Next thing I'd like to talk about is audio. This is just a simple little shotgun microphone. Okay, there's nothing fancy about this. It is a VidPro XM55. Like everything I own, it is generic as hell. It's a Chinese model. You'll probably find it under a bunch of different model numbers, bunch of different names. But yeah, I mean, it's literally just on and off. It's got an XLR input, which most cameras do not accept an XLR input. I convert this to 3.5 millimeter, which is the size of your average headphone jack. If you pick one of these up, it'll probably come with the adapter for you, XLR to 3.5 millimeter. You could also pick up relatively cheaply, I think about 40, 50 bucks, you could pick up a Rode VideoMic Pro. Rode is an established classic brand, and they come natively 3.5 millimeter. So you could do something like that. Any old shotgun mic, I mean, you do want to keep quality in mind, obviously, when you're shopping, but you don't need to go super expensive. This cost me 20 bucks. Okay, I'll just be honest with you. This cost me 20 bucks back in 2018, and I've been using it ever since. The one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to set this on top of your camera unless you're running and gunning, shooting something real fast and dirty. You generally don't want to do that because most of the time, if you have a fixed camera angle, your camera is going to be further away from the subject than what your microphone needs to be. So you really want to attach this to a pole, they call it a boom pole. You want to get that right up close to your subject so that you can get good, clean dialogue audio. What helps with that is something like this. This is just a little audio recorder. I picked this up on Temu, about 10 bucks. Obviously, it's not the best in the world. It does have a tiny little LCD display. That's cute. This actually came with a 64 gigabyte micro SD card, which absolutely blew me away. I checked it on my computer, and sure enough, they weren't lying. It was 64 gigabytes. But nice thing about this, again, it is very cheap. So it has these little stereo microphones on the top. You don't want to use these. Frankly, I'm going to just be honest with you. But what it does have in the side is it has that 3.5 millimeter audio jack. So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could tape that on there and that would keep it steady. You could also tape it to your boom pole, put it in your pocket, get yourself an exceptionally long XLR cable, wrap down the length of that boom pole and have whoever's operating your boom mic keep it in their pocket. But, you know, a good external microphone away from your camera. You don't want to use your camera's onboard audio, okay? Because most of the time your camera's making noise, whether you realize it or not. My camera, you know, the lens is going to be moving back and forth. It's going to be making noise. There's going to be little snapping sounds, things like that, buzzing. And you just can't have a microphone that close to your camera without audio interference and electromagnetic interference. That's something to take into account as well. You want to keep this away from your other electronics. So yeah, just these two. Cheap as can be. This whole set is probably 25 bucks. Absolute powerhouse right here. One thing I do want to touch on finally is editing. Now, you do kind of sort of need to know your way around an editing bay. You don't need expensive software. My first 3 films were made with Windows Movie Maker, which if you don't know is like the cheapest of the cheapest of the cheap. To this day, for my audio editing purposes, I use Goldwave, which is completely free. You can download it right now. If you have a Windows system, I'm not sure if they're on Linux or not. For my films, for editing video, if you're going to make this a one-time thing, I would say, first of all, I would say use Windows Movie Maker or some other, free software. What I use personally is Sony Vegas. It's not Sony Vegas anymore, but it is Vegas Pro. I use Vegas Pro 14. That's a very old version. I got that as part of the Humble Bundle, if you know what that is. I got that for 30 bucks, I think. It wasn't very expensive at all. It might have been even less than that. But there are avenues, especially for older versions of softwares. See what I'm saying? Everything just keeps getting cheaper. You can buy these software packages very cheap online if you know where to go. And if not, a quick Google search will take you there. You can see me here on the screen doing some editing work right now, actually on this very episode. And, you know, basically all it comes down to is cutting and stitching together the footage that you want. You don't need to know a whole bunch of fancy effects. If you want to learn to do special effects, things like that in post, absolutely go for it, but it's not a prerequisite at all to filmmaking. And in many cases, I would say it's actually a detriment, especially when you start getting into CGI and things like that. This is purely my taste, but it does sort of diminish the heart and soul of it being a one-man project. And that's what's great about community theater and small-time filmmaking and things like that. Every 12-year-old has a movie studio in their pocket. Okay, phones have gotten so much more powerful. It's unbelievable. I actually use my phone as a secondary camera, and it cost me $60. But there's all sorts of things you can do with the tools that you have on hand. What you need to remember, you don't need to go out and you don't need to lament that you can't make anything good. I did that for years. I'm speaking from experience, because you don't have the $2,000 or $3,000 prosumer or professional video camera equipment. What I've got has been collected or given to me over the course of 10 years. Okay, I started with a very cheap tripod. It's actually this one right here. It cost like $10, I think, and before I had that, I just held my camera in my hands. So that was $10, $15. Then I bumped up a level and bumped up another level. I have a very nice tripod now, because I bought it because I needed a tripod that would go up to 7 feet. And that was what I needed. And, you know, I film stage plays with it. It gets really good angles up above the stage when I need it to. I'm not filming from down here, you know. Most people do not need a professional tripod. I have one because I need one. But you're absolutely fine if you've got a steady hand. You can sit down on a chair or at a table exactly like this, hold your phone, and you'll get a pretty good steady shot. You don't want to be doing a whole bunch of like fake dolly movements, that type of thing, because you are going to get a very wobbly picture. So know your limitations, but also branch out and explore your creativity. So that's really what it boils down to. That's the heart and soul of it, and that's really why I love it so much. Is it's something that anybody can get into. I've been very pleased, very fortunate to have got into it when I did. I did the first year we did this, which was 2015. We did Robot Nation. And that was myself, a very good friend, Julie Owen, who was directing and actually entered the contest for us, and my sister, Alice Bernosky. I think we have time. Yeah, it's like 3 minutes. We can pull it up. Here it is. This is Robot Nation by Julie Owen.
A head fumbles in the dark, it finds its destination. The power switch is flicked on the power of a robot nation. Every day the same routine, on it ain't up to find. We get tasked with war routine. It's what it's like to be alive. It's what it's like to be alive. Assemblymen work assembly lines while money men laugh and play. Gears and arms work in time. This has always been the way. But something doesn't feel quite right. And though I may be lobotomized, strange electric impulses tell me we're all roboticized. This is what it's like to be alive. controller of my fate. I, robot, no longer can I wait. I am not a robot. I pull the wires out of my head. It's refreshing to think clear. No more remnants of a cloudy mind. No more thoughts of slavery and fear. The domino effect begins with one. I'm already at the starting line. The time has come for liberty. I'll show you what it's like to be alive. This is what it's like to be alive. This is what it's like to be alive. This is what it's like to be alive. It's more than life than this. I think I'll take the risk. You try to shut me down. I am not a robot. Don't listen to what I say to you. Feel free to do what you need to. Feel free yourself to do with me. The robot nation at last is free.
So that was the first film we ever made. If you'll notice, every single shot was out of focus. If you'll notice, every single shot was out of focus. But you know what? The audio was really good because it was a silent movie. The lighting was really good because it was done almost entirely outside. That's another thing. The sun is your brightest light source. All of these lights that I have, the 12 bajillion lights that I have sitting around in this studio right now, cannot compare to the power of the sun. If I brought these lights outside, they would be absolutely useless if I was filming in daylight. So these are all things to consider. Get creative, find ways that you can get around the limitations that you have. But to do that, you have to know your limitations first. And I still think Robot Nation is a good film. I know people who are embarrassed by it. I still think Robot Nation is a good film. I stand by it to this day. The next year, I made One Man's Trash, which I believe we watched. I think we watched that on episode 2. That was my first foray into filmmaking, and it won Best in Show. The category that year was comedy. That was the genre that we had to follow. And I said, you know what? I've got this idea kicking around in my head. It's a trash monster that comes to life, eats a bunch of people, and then gets shot and dies. And it still makes people laugh to this day. Again, it was filmed entirely outside. It was almost entirely a silent film. The only bit at the end of actual proper dialogue is that bit at the end where he goes, I guess it's true what they say. One man's trash is another man's terror. And what I did for that, because I had to dub that in, I couldn't say it outside and get good audio. And so what I did was I went into my closet, surrounded by clothes to dampen the sound. I just held my camcorder really close to my mouth like this. I did not have a podcasting mic like this back in the day. But you know what? It got really good audio. I probably peaked the mic doing that, so sorry, I don't care. But even since I started out, in the 10 years since I've started out, resources have become much more plentiful, much more open. There's all sorts of avenues you can explore to getting into this sort of hobby. You know, obviously it's one of my favorite subjects. I think that's clear because I've talked about it longer now than I think I've ever talked about anything on this show. I'm sorry if I'm boring you. But it is just a really fascinating thing to explore, and there's so many little ins and outs to it, so many different little paths you can go down. It's like, do you want to be a comedy director? Do you want to be a fantasy type of storyteller? You know, what do you want to be? Do you just want to be an actor? Because that's what a lot of people want to do. They just want to act. The thing that's so amazing to me about community theater, and in particular cinema, and it applies to both, but cinema really is amazing to me, because it is a place where, the actor can express themselves through the persona of another character. They can express real deep emotions through dialogue as if it was written for them. And when you become your character, if you are an actor, that you become more and more like the character, and soon you're feeling what they're feeling, and you can apply it to your real life. It's great for the director. It's a place where the director can explore creativity without necessarily having to write their own stories. But if they want to write their own stories, that's absolutely something that the director can do as well. If they want total creative control, that's a place where the director can find it. It's great for tech guys, lights and sound. That involves a lot of creativity that you probably would be surprised about if you're not in that world. And it's just a place where people can come together and do what they want to do, but also make something great in the process and make a collaborative thing together. And it's my bread and butter. I just love it. So before I forget, before I talk too much about me and what I like, the Morristown Theater Guild's 10th annual 24-hour film contest and festival. That will be Saturday, November the 16th. It's like 3 days away now. Oh my God. I believe we're starting at noon, but I'm not 100% sure. You'll have to go to this link right here on your screen, or check us out on Facebook. It's just the Morristown Theater Guild Inc. And that'll be the form that you fill out, and you can get your fee paid and everything, get yourself signed up, and you'll receive an email with all the details later on. The viewing should be the following weekend, Friday or Saturday. I'm not sure. The date will be on your screen, but I'm very well prepared, as you can tell. And that'll be at the Morristown's College Square Mall. We actually don't have a whole lot of entries as of yet, so if you're free that weekend or those 2 weekends, we'll be making a big watch party out of it, big viewing, big festival. Come on by, get yourself some popcorn, some sody pop, have a good time. Watch everybody's films, get into sort of the community, the creativity of the community, and see what the Theater Guild has to offer besides just stage plays, because, I love our plays. This is my favorite thing. It's so me in a lot of ways, and it might be you too. So come on down, check us out. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Behind the Curtain. I'm James Bernowski. If you like what you see, follow us, like, subscribe, leave a comment. For any questions, or just contact us, say hey, or be featured on the show, send an email to that address right there at the bottom of your screen. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.